As we await a White House decision on the release of the Democratic rebuttal to the GOP FISA memo, a new Wall Street Journal opinion piece is going after the credibility of Trump dossier author Christopher Steele. Republicans accuse the FBI of using unverified research by the former British spy to obtain a FISA warrant on former Trump aide Carter Page. Kimberly Strassel writes, America has been inundated by the words dossier, memo, collusion, FISA, Carter Page. They all come back to the actions of one man, Christopher Steele, which is why the only news that matters this week is that the former British spy's credibility has been dismantled. Is a reliable and credible source one who defies FBI orders, meets with the press, undercuts a probe, and lies about it? Is a professional someone who refuses to answer questions from congressional investigators but is happy to spin a tale to friendly journalists? Watch for the Democrats, House Democrats in their memo to continue defending Mr. Steele despite all this. That is a mouthful. Joining me now are two Fox News contributors, syndicated radio talk show host Leslie Marshall and the founder of Caldwell Strategic Consulting, Gianno Caldwell. Thank you very much to you both for coming on. Leslie, are Democrats going to continue to defend Christopher Steele, or are they going to desperately try to substantiate all his claims so they don't look like they put all their eggs in one BS basket?
Well, there's somebody out there, Julie, as you know, who can substantiate the claims or not, and that's a guy named Robert Mueller, and there's an investigation that's going on. If Republicans would just let it play out and have nothing to worry about and fear that they have nothing to hide. With regard to the Steele dossier, although they would say nothing has been confirmed or denied, that's not true. Actually, there has been confirmation that Russia, in fact, meddled in our elections, in our election process. That has been confirmed. I would like to know if the rest of the dossier is true or not. And we're also finding that this memo that came out, not everything in that memo is true. I want the truth, whether it helps the Democrats or not.
Gianno, Steele came to the FBI as a political operative. Okay, there are red flags right there. Paid by Fusion GPS, a subcontractor for Hillary Clinton's campaign. I mean, the FBI should have known better. I mean, did they really get duped?
Well, they said that they worked with him previously, and that's why they trust his credibility. But one thing we have to notice right off the bat, that he was an unrelenting and unabashed Trump hater, and that's truthfully what he was. The fact that he was someone who was paid by Fusion GPS, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and the DNC, and the fact that he made an agreement with the FBI saying that he would not talk to the press, but yet did and lied about it, is completely troubling, and it's something that the FBI shouldn't have based his credibility on subsequently when they went in for an additional surveillance.
Yeah.
So when you see these issues, and you know that there's been elected officials who have been arrested and jailed, like Rob Blagojevich in Illinois for lying to the FBI, you wonder, how's this guy still walking free? So this is a very interesting fiasco that our country is currently in, because there's a lot of folks that aren't trusting the FBI because of this situation.
Leslie.
And there's a lot of people who question the Steele dossier because he lied about instances in which he clearly shouldn't have.
If you do your due diligence, Gianno just mentioned credibility. I mean, I question, how is it that they didn't know this guy lacked credibility? I mean, according to Senator Chuck Grassley's declassified criminal referral, former Director James Comey testified that the Bureau couldn't corroborate the dossier, but used it in the FISA court proceedings anyway. In other words, because Mr. Steele had previously provided reliable information, the thought process was that this former spy, but no longer a spy for 7 years, should be seen as credible, so let's just believe him?
Well, first of all, it is not, and we know, the only reason that we had a FISA warrant. It wasn't the only evidence that was presented, and I believe that warrant would have been issued without the dossier. And the Justice Department has already admitted that they knew it came from a politically backed organization, which, by the way, was originally, as we know, hired by a conservative organization to dig up dirt on then candidate and not yet nominee Donald Trump, who is now the president. Look, anybody who comes to the FBI with information, and by the way, if you remember, he went to various members of British Parliament and said, this is information I have, what do I do? And they said, you have no choice. You have to, the United States is our strongest ally. You have to go to them. And this is exactly what he did. And they felt here in the United States it was best at the State Department for him to speak to the FBI. So I don't think that Steele has that much to gain from this simply because he may not like Donald Trump, as Gianno said.
I mean, while Nunez gets ready to launch a second memo, Gianno, I mean, his attack against the Russians, we're all waiting for the Democrats' memo. Where is it? I know it needs to be approved, but the longer the wait, the more this mess of alleged FISA abuse by the FBI and the DOJ percolates. I mean, how much damage is going to be done the longer it takes for this Democrat memo to come out?
Well, first off, let me push back on Leslie a little bit. He did have a lot to gain. They were called paychecks, one by the FBI, by the Hillary Clinton campaign, the DNC, and many others. So he was enriching himself off this information. So he had a lot to gain. Not only that, he was, again, someone who despised President Donald Trump. So if he could be a guy that can take down Trump, I think he would say, hey, kudos to me, and get more work out of it.
Yeah.
On the next point there, in terms of the Democratic memo, I think we need to see it. We need all aspects of this thing on the table. There's no other way to view it. As an American, I'm troubled by the fact that the Russians did meddle in our elections. I think that if President Trump or anybody within his campaign had anything to do about it, they need to be brought to justice, and we need to know about it. So that should be something that is very consistent across the board. But we must be very intellectually honest when we're discussing this, because Steele definitely had a game to play in this situation, and he cannot be trusted based on his track record of lying to the FBI.
Right. Gianno Caldwell, thank you very much, Caldwell and Leslie Marshall. Appreciate you both coming on.